Who's ready for some more optimism? All right, Scott, you're going to need to unmute yourself in just a little jiffy. I'm going to welcome everyone back. Our final guest speaker today, his name is Scott Riviere. If you are familiar with play therapy, you already know who he is, but just in case you aren't, he is a licensed professional counselor and one of the first registered play therapy supervisors in Louisiana. He's the director of Kids Incorporated, which is Louisiana's first play therapy institute, where he only works with kids and adolescents. Every time I hear Scott, I feel better. He makes me laugh. I think that's one of his major superpowers. We are very, very grateful to you for joining us today to talk about maintaining or cultivating optimism in the face of distress. Scott, thanks for being here.
You're very welcome. Can everybody hear me? Oh, great. Man, I'm so excited. This is my first Zoom conference ever. So I've learned a few things. I still get nervous. I still have to go pee right before. So if y'all saw me, I'm in and out the whole time. And man, what a lineup of people, right? I mean, I'm just sitting there listening to Paris and Steve, and I was like, man, I'm an expert at nothing, you know? So, except screwing up maybe. So I really want to thank Michelle and Thrive. Shout out to my little Scotty squad there in New Jersey. I miss you guys. I love y'all. Y'all are kind of one of the highlights of the Play Therapy Conference every year, seeing all y'all getting together. So hopefully we'll be able to do that as well this year. So when Michelle asked me to really talk about this, you know, I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. I can talk about hope and optimism, but I really tried to not do a canned talk, and I just sat down last night and just started jotting, you know, some notes about what I think is important. So, so I don't know if I have 10 minutes of stuff, and I don't know if I have a couple of hours of stuff. So we will not go a couple hours, I promise you. It's a weekend down here in Louisiana, and supposedly we have a hurricane maybe coming our way. So everybody here is at the liquor store. It's kind of how we cope, right? So I do want to give full disclosure so that you know kind of where I've been the last 11 weeks. I deleted Facebook a while back, and I literally haven't watched TV in about 11 weeks. And so I tend to learn about what's going on in the world through the kids and families that I work with. And it's interesting because I usually get very different versions of a person's truth, you know? So I'll hear stories and I'll be like, oh, wow, is that what's going on? And then maybe another person will come in and they'll say, oh, hey, did you hear this? This is what's going on. And so, but it really was kind of something I felt like I had to do for my own mental health. My office manager went off the deep end. She was seriously concerned that National Guard was going to come in and take over our city. And I kept having to remind her, nobody really cares about Lake Charles, Louisiana. So I just tried to maintain the practice, which was really hard. You know, people, when it comes to their safety, they're really not very much invested, I think, in therapy. I don't know if that was y'all's experience as well. So I really started all this off with a really positive attitude. I was like, I'm going to work on my tan. I'm going to plant a garden. And that lasted about 48 hours because the mortgage company and electrical company didn't give me time off from their bills. So I quickly started painting houses, which is something I used to do whenever I was in early in my career, because I only worked with kids. I frequently would have the mornings off. So it was really fun. But things down here in Louisiana, I think, are kind of getting rolling again. So I'm super hopeful. You know, I'm super hopeful right now that things are going to get back, and people are going to really be able to get back to creating a life that for them is really meaningful. So, whenever you define a word, it's always good to look it up on the internet, right? And so I have my notes right here on my screen. So if y'all see me looking to the left, that's what I'm doing. My PowerPoint is always my Adderall. And so when they asked me to speak, I was like, man, I don't have a PowerPoint. I need that to stay focused. So I just made my little notes on the side of the screen. So the official definition is a wish for a particular event that one considers possible. But the definition that I like is the belief that life can be better. Hope is the belief that life can be better. My parents were the firstborn Americans, because my grandparents came over from Italy, and they're Sicilian, and southern Italy, for the most part, was very impoverished at the time. And so my grandfather and a group of other Italians decided to leave Sicily and get on a boat in Palermo and really sail all the way to New Orleans, where my grandfather docked. And of course, they didn't have papers, and didn't have a job, and so the Italians really kind of banded together to take care of each other, so that they could really just survive. And so I'm always kind of captivated by the story of just leaving your home, in hopes of a better life, because sometimes it's really hard to believe, in a sense, that life can get better. Because I don't know about you, but I use the word hope a lot interchangeably, and probably more when I'm mad or upset. Like in traffic, I'll be like, man, hope that guy gets pulled over, or hope this happens to this person. But that's not the kind of hope that I want us to talk about today. I want us to talk about the kind of hope that is uplifting and inspiring. So that's what we're going to do. And then after hope, I'll give you a little task. And then after that, we're going to talk a little bit about a gratitude. And it was really fun listening to Steve, because I was like, man, that's one of the points that I want to hit on as well. So I just hope that we all can, at least for these next maybe half hour, be in that space that, we can just believe again that, life can get better. But the reality is that life sometimes can make us lose hope. We can have things happen that really make us believe, in a sense, that hoping for something better is almost an impossibility. And so, and if you look back on your own life, I know we all have experiences where we got hurt. Maybe we were disappointed, maybe rejection, pain, and sometimes just the reality of life itself. One of the things that I found most interesting in talking with people that were willing to come in is that a lot of those people really were staying away from a lot of the 24/7 inundation with everything that was going on with the virus. And so it was just interesting to me that, those were the ones that were willing to maybe come in and put themselves and their mental health first. And so, but life happens. And in that, unfortunately, we can lose hope. And so the biggest psychological side effects of hopelessness, and this is long-term chronic hopelessness. I see this a lot of times in parents that have children that are real difficult to manage. But you can also see it just by watching the news and in our world today. The most long-term psychological consequence of hopelessness is anger and resentment. And if you look around today, it's so easy to see, how much humans, were welling up with this sense of anger and resentment. And so it's so important a lot of times to reconnect with that belief that, life can be better. Because I don't know if y'all have ever been in that place, but, I know I did. Steve talked about his dad dying, and I'll often tell the story of my father, but it was many years ago, it was 20 years ago, and he was diagnosed with cancer. Well, I was super hopeful and had faith that he was going to get healed and things were going to be okay and we were going to be able to have a life, because he was diagnosed the night that I got back from honeymoon. So of course, I'm on top of the world, and life was full of possibilities. But then that night, when he was diagnosed, the doctor pulled us in the room and told us that he had about 2 to 6 weeks to live because of the type of cancer that he had. And man, it was like a wind that was taken out of my sail that I'd never felt before. I'd never felt that sense of real hopelessness over life. But I remember telling my dad, I was like, I'm not going to work. I'm going to stay here every day. And my dad was like, you better get your ass to work. You got a life. You got a wife now. You got to get to work. And so, but man, all I remember in that moment was I just wanted to be with them, And so life a lot of times really can punch us in the stomach and really make us get to that place to where, we just don't want to believe or hope again. But the reality was for me, and maybe it is for some of y'all as well, is a lot of times it's when I sit in that place of hopelessness that that little spark or that fire kind of gets reignited. We evacuated in 2005 for a Hurricane Rita, and a hurricane had never hit Lake Charles, Louisiana before, like never. And so our, normal was that we were going to be back in 48 hours. Well, it hit our community, wiped out the community. We couldn't even get back to our town for 2 weeks. And I distinctly remember just staring in front of the TV in Baton Rouge every day, just kind of like this blank, dissociated stare, of the news cycle and the devastation and everything else. And I just remember like feeling this sense of there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. But something happened, and I don't know what it was, but it was definitely a spark that ignited in me to just kind of believe, yes, I can do something. There is things that I can do in this situation. I just graduated from life coach training school, and so I had all these tools in my head, but I wasn't using a single one of them. But as soon as I really woke up, in a sense, it really was like a light went off, and I started just kind of creating and, imagining again, what could I do and what's possible. That was right before the APT conference in October. And so I was just assuming I wasn't going to be able to go, but called them and they rearranged airfare, and I found an airport that I could get to. And man, the energy and the enthusiasm and just the general life that bubbled up in me, it was so exciting. It was such a contrast to that feeling that I had really even, a few minutes before. So, a lot of times what we do, and it's fine, but what we watch and what we see on TV can generate a sense of hopelessness. The reality is there's goodness all around us, everywhere. There's loads of good people doing great things during this time, but it's so much easier to kind of highlight how fragile humanity is. We're all imperfect. We all screw up. We all make mistakes. We all do bad things. And so it's easy to highlight that. And we know as humans, we kind of remember the bad things versus the good. You could have 3 or 4 good things happen that day, but one really bad thing. And that is kind of the highlight of that day in our mind. So I think it's always good to be hopeful because it reminds us of our greatness, and humanity is like, we've done some really cool things. Have we done some bad things? Absolutely, because we're imperfect. But it's so important to kind of reconnect. And I think in our jobs as therapists, we see this every day. We really have, I think, one of the best jobs ever. Yeah, it doesn't pay well. Yeah, we got to deal with a lot of stress. But man, for a lot of the people that we work with, and I know y'all would say this as well, it's like, we're some of the first people that help our clients to feel hopeful. We're the first people that kind of instill in them the belief that life can be better, that they can change their future. They don't have to repeat the patterns of their past. We give them a sense of hope of healing, a sense of hope of forgiveness, hope of growth. So there's so much that we do every day in the lives of the people that we serve that is such a gift, because a lot of times the people that we help, and it can even be people in our own families, it doesn't have to be our careers, but we have the potential to instill in them this sense that life can be better. And I don't know, for me, that's such a humbling kind of thing. So now, do you need to be a therapist to still help people? Absolutely not. We all do it in our daily basis, but what I want to recommend is that we start first with ourselves, because, even though hopelessness a lot of times can be that thing that really sparks, that fire, that things can be different. One of my favorite quotes was from Henry David Thoreau about this, and he says, "It doesn't matter what you look at, it matters what you see." So another way to kind of look at that is we tend to find what we're looking for, and if you have ever lost your keys, you kind of know what that's like. And I'm super ADD, so I'll lose my keys and wallet and things like that. But the difference is, I know they exist. I just had them maybe an hour before. So even with that frustration and aggravation of looking for them, I have faith that they exist because I just had them. So for a lot of people, we have places in life where we can anchor our hope in. We have times in life where we were hopeful and life did work out. But some people, that's really not been their experience. Their experience of hope is almost like these people that search for treasures. They've never seen the treasure. They've never felt it. They've never really had any awareness, but they have a map or they have a belief that it exists. And that's the kind of faith and determination that really kind of inspires me. It's like these people that can go out there and they can really dig for something that they've never personally experienced. And so often we're the people in their lives that kind of go on that journey with them, So, I think the work that we do is so important, and not only with the people that we serve, but I think it's so important that we do this work with ourselves first. We look for the good in ourselves. We try our best to kind of forgive ourselves. I'm sure you've heard the analogy, you can't give away what you don't have. Like, I may want to give you $5. I may feel like giving you $5. You may earn $5. You may deserve $5. But if I don't have it, I really can't give it to you. So hope is one of those things that if we don't have it within ourselves, it's really hard to give it to somebody else. And so, when we go to do this work, ideally we start first with ourselves, because if we can have that belief that life can be better and really look for the times in our life where we have made it through a struggle. I used to love hearing the stories about our grandparents and all the things that they went through just to develop a better life, And the biggest part of this for me is just deciding what I want to see that day, like, what do I want to see? Because, when you're looking for your keys, you may find other stuff. You may find some Cheetos in the couch, you find a ballpoint pen that you lost, but the reality is you really don't quit looking until you find them. And so, when we're looking at what do we want to do this week, a task you could do, and you can just do it for 7 days. This isn't anything we have to commit to the rest of our life. Is really just kind of figure out, what do I want to look for today? What do I want to look for? Do I want to look for charity? Do I want to look for optimism? Do I want to look for hope? Do I want to look for faith? Do I want to look for determination? And so Because I'm telling you, if we look for it, you'll see it all around you, because there's so much goodness around us. But if we just focus on what we, are kind of being inundated with seeing, it's easy to see that too. It's easy to see hate and hurt and loss and rejection, because all that's part of life too. But just for our own mental health, I think it's a great thing, to really kind of on a daily basis commit to making that intention to, what have I lost in me that I want to reconnect with, and then set that out as almost an intention. Today I will find that in myself, and today I'll find that in others. So, hope is often the spark, like I said, that really ignites that possibility that life can be better. So the question I'm going to leave you with on the hope is, what do you hope for? What do you hope for? And certainly in times like these, our daily life really gives a lot to be hopeful for, hopeful for peace, hopeful for solidarity, hopeful for resolution, for connection. And so, just encourage all of us to really stay focused on what we can do and make a difference, starting with ourselves, so that we can kind of spread that out to others. All right. So I don't even know how long that took, but I'm on my gratitude slide now. So we're winding down. You know how much it stinks to be the last speaker too? Because I know all of y'all are jonesing to leave. All right. I know that. Not that I am, but I'm just saying. So, so I'm going to go to really kind of one of my more favorite parts of life is gratitude. I've always, even growing up, my mom would always say, I'm very happy that you're so thankful. I'm very happy that you're so thankful, because I always felt like we really didn't grow up poor. Like when I look at my my grandparents' life, I go, man, they were poor. Like they made their own food. They didn't have money. They took one bath a week in this metal tub. And they all shared the same water. So like if you went last, you were like bathing in 6 siblings' dirty water. So I just kind of go, man, I never had to worry that I wasn't going to be fed or anything like that. But it's easy to look around us and see all the things that other people have, because and that's one of the main reasons why I think I just got off Facebook for a while. Is I got tired of looking at everybody else's stuff. And there was a girl a few years ago that took her life locally, and it was real tragic, but her last post on Instagram was her riding a horse with the caption "Loving Life," and so it really just struck me, it's like, man, here's a person that, wanted the world to see something, but on the inside had a very different reality, So, I just decided to get off of it so I could reconnect with these things, because I was just starting to get, a little less grateful about the things that, I feel like were going well in my life, and was focusing on the things that, weren't going so well. So, gratitude for me, it's so easy to be grateful when life's going good, right? Like if you're healthy and your job's going fine and your life's going fine. It's like super easy. I always joke, it's easy to be a Christian when life's going well, and so as a person of faith, I was raised growing up with the passage that said, be thankful in all things. And I was like, man, whenever bad things happen, it's about, like I told you about Dad's diagnosis, that was horrible. I was like, how can I be thankful for this? The quarantine, our first case was on a Thursday, I think on the 15th or something of March. And by Monday, the entire week canceled, so I'd go from, having a full schedule to literally not having anybody for the whole week. And I just kept telling myself, how am I supposed to be thankful for this? How am I supposed to be thankful for this? So it's so easy to be grateful and thankful when life's going well, but, how do you be grateful when life's not going well? So that's kind of the thing that I want us to talk about, because it's easy to do it when things are going great, but how do we do it when life's not? And I wish I had all the answers, because I certainly don't. I'll tell you what I do, and if maybe that, spark something that you can try with yourself, then that's all good. So one of the quotes that I heard in our life coach school was, adversity introduces us to ourselves. Adversity introduces us to ourselves. And man, all I've kind of learned is I don't really like me when life's not going well. I get impatient, I get angry, worry 1,000 times more than I think I ever do in my everyday life. Because most people that know me would say, man, you hardly ever worry. And it's true. But man, when there's a sense of adversity, I really reconnect with how much I really do worry about stuff. So, that sense of adversity introduces us to ourselves is really kind of a humbling concept to see, like, how do we cope with it when life doesn't go well? Because as most of you probably learned when you were young, struggle really is a part of growth. And it's so hard sometimes to embrace that. The first time I wanted to ride a bike, I had a big brother who could always do things way before me. And so I couldn't remember, I remember very vividly about being excited how to go ride a bike, and asking my dad, I want to learn. And so, of course, he walks, holds the back of the seat, and, kind of go faster and faster. And eventually my dad would let go. And of course, shortly after, I would fall down, skin my knees, skin my hands, start crying, and there was definitely times where I probably said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to learn how to ride a bike. But the reality was, obviously, I got back up, because eventually I learned how to ride a bike. And so part of being grateful and thankful, I think, unfortunately, involves a sense of struggle, because it often takes, I think, the opposite, to kind of help us appreciate what we have. Down south, I absolutely love the heat. It's my normal. So what I call winter is not what y'all call winter. What I call winter, y'all probably call a warm spring, right? So it doesn't snow here. I think last winter we had 2 days that it was freezing, and freezing to us means 32 degrees, So, but man, I get excited about fall, because it's usually 95 to 100 degrees with 100% humidity down here. So fall for me is super exciting because it's been so hot. But man, once that first, what I call cold snap comes, I'm so ready for summer again, because I just can't stand the cold. So, but I need the cold, in a sense, to really help me appreciate how much I love the warmth. Failure helps us to appreciate success. It's like, if you're always successful, it really doesn't prepare you well for life, because in life, we're rarely always successful. If y'all have ever experienced loneliness, man, it really helps you to value that sense of connection that we have with other people. Loss, ideally, helps us to appreciate love. So, a lot of times, and I think y'all probably have had stuff like this happen as well. Life just has a way of reminding us how lucky we are to have the simple things. When Steve talked about a warm shower, if you've ever gotten a health diagnosis that was scary, man, I've gotten a few of those in the last 2 years, and I'll go in the mirror and I'll literally say to myself, you were happy 3 hours ago. You were happy 3 hours ago. Just to remind myself, it's like, man, focus on the good. Look at what I have in life. It's like, this is treatable. Things can get better. So gratitude a lot of times also helps us to see the suffering of the people around us. You know, if you've ever been lonely, it's so much easier to see loneliness. You know, I don't know why somebody's calling on Saturday, right? And let me see if, yeah, there we go, at least turned it lower. You know, if you've ever been poor, it's so easy to see poverty. You know, so a lot of times these things that we struggle with and suffer with, those are the very things that help us to see it in other people. So in a way, it really is a gift, even though in that moment, I myself don't always appreciate it or value it. So, you know, gratitude really helps us to count our own blessings, really to begin to be thankful for the things that a lot of times we take for granted. So here's my method, and it's not really anything scientific on any level. But just so you know me, I'm pretty avoidant of stuff. Like, I just like waking up and just looking for the good and going on with life. But when I do get kicked, I literally have to force myself to be aware of what's going on in that moment, like emotionally, like how am I feeling right now? And why is that important? Because I always say, and it's a philosophical question, there's not a right answer to it, so you can maybe come up with your own answer, is why do people have feelings? Like, why do we have them? What's their function? What's their purpose? You know, we have lungs, and their function is to take the oxygen out the air and part in our bloodstream. We have kidneys, filter out impurities, stomach, digest food. So, you know, why do we have emotions? And I don't know the answer to that, but I love asking it when I train people to get them thinking, like, what is the purpose of a feeling? Kind of my answer that I always default to is they're there to give us information. You know, I don't know about you, but I've been fooled by my feelings sometimes. You know, like I would think something was true, and then I would get information that would let me know what I thought was not true, and then that feeling would pretty much dissipate. But I think our emotions are there to help us. You know, they're there to try to help us understand what's going on. Yes, we also have logic and reason and life experiences and other things, but generally our emotions are there to give us information. And so for me, it's so important to be aware of that. You know, Steve, I think, said something about like, now's not the time to be positive. Now's not the time. And that's kind of what I mean by this as well. It's like, you know, in the beginning, I think it's so important that we are mindful and aware of what's going on. Because that's usually the place that for me is going to help me to kind of generate some possibilities, like what's really going on with me? What are my emotions trying to tell me? They're not trying to tell me to suppress them. They're not trying to tell me to deny them. You know, I need to listen to them. They're trying to help me. And once I've done that, then I always try to look at, you know, what's my ideal? And this is the one place where it might sound kind of counterintuitive, but a lot of times we do tend to look at our life from our ideal. You know, what do we want? You know, what's the best? And not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, our goals and our dreams really help us, you know, sometimes to work for a better life. And, you know, our goals and dreams can really help us to give us strength and encouragement through life struggles. But the side effect of that is it also helps you to see where you're not measuring up. Okay. So what I'm talking about is not so much to say like it's not good to have goals and ideals, because I think it's very true. But when we go to look at our life and how's it going, I always like looking at it from kind of the how do I want to monitor that? You know, how do I want to measure it? You know, and if I'm always looking at it from this is my ideal, but this is where it's at, then I'm going to be left with discouragement, frustration, aggravation, and in the long haul, a lot of times people start to feel hopeless, helpless, and like we're failures or we're incompetent. And I don't know about you, but I think most humans, when we feel like we suck at something, we just quit trying. You know, if you're not good at basketball, you just don't play basketball. If you're not good at piano, you don't play piano. So So when we go to figure out, what can I be grateful for? A lot of times I don't like looking at that from the ideal, because then it makes me less grateful because I don't have this yet, or, now I can't pay my mortgage and I can't pay my health insurance. So the side effect of looking at it from our ideal is that we tend to feel disappointed, and that in and of itself can create a lack of movement in us. So what I want us to maybe suggest is to drop maybe our expectations of that. It's like, instead of looking at our life from our ideal, well, I want that nice house, or I want this degree, or I want to be able to do that. Let's look at life maybe from a place of gratitude. Okay, so I think with me, it's easy to take stuff for granted. It's easy to take electricity for granted. It's easy to take clean water for granted. It's easy to, take a house maybe for granted. But, what are you willing to give up for that? A lot of times these things that I think I want or I need in life really don't have high value. It's like the electricity went off the other day, and I thank God I woke up, but my neighbor's like, I see her walking in the house with coffee from Wendy's, and I was like, good morning. And she's like, you have electricity? And I said, well, yeah, I have electricity. I said, if you need to come over and do something, just come over. But then I get home and I realize I didn't have electricity. That shows you how absent-minded I am. So, but man, not having electricity in the morning where I have to work is like no blow drying the hair, right? First world problems. But, it took that to kind of go, man, I'm so grateful, for this daily stop. So you would say, okay, well, what can I be grateful for? Well, if I have my hearing, am I grateful for that? My vision, the ability to walk, your ability to see, because unfortunately, life sometimes teaches us this lesson the hard way. We'll lose an ability, we'll lose a function. And so then we're thrown into that place of really being aware of how thankful, we could have been. So, ideally we make that leap today and really looking at our life from where are all the things that could be worse, rather than what are all the things that could be better. The benefit of that is it helps us to see the good things. It helps us to see the little things in life that maybe we take for granted, because it's so easy. We all have stuff, we all have hurts, we all have wounds, we all have insecurities. It's just how life is. There's no perfect person, there's no perfect life, no perfect family, no perfect marriage. So none of us, in a sense, get through life without a story, and all of our stories, and we see this with our clients, but we all have one too. They all include downsides and tragedies and failures, but they also include successes and triumphs and loves. And, so I just think it's one of those things that it's so important to have people in our life that love us and support us unconditionally, because the best way to get to gratitude is to let go of the things that have hurt us, So, and this is where I want to end the gratitude talk, because I think it's super important that we do this ourselves, because, it's that analogy we said, you can't give away something you don't have, so we have to really be in a place to where we can forgive ourselves. We have to embrace our humanity, embrace our failures, embrace our screw ups. I remember one time, I'm Catholic, and so we go to this thing, confession, where you go and tell the priest your sin. So it's kind of like a spiritual counseling session, I guess, where you purge out your stuff. And I remember telling the priest one time, I was like, man, you have a really hard job. You have to do this, hear people's stuff every day. And he goes, no, you have the hard job. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, God forgives people instantly, but you have to help people forgive themselves. And some people never learn how to do that. And so it's just real kind of interesting, to look at the job that we do that way. It's like, we need to do it with ourselves first so that we can fully help other people kind of embrace that as well in them. So, you know, it's such a gift to forgive ourselves for our screw ups, but it's even more of a gift to share that with other people. You know, so we all need somebody in our life, right? To share our stuff to, our failures, our, you know, screw ups, where we're fragile, where we're insecure. And then to receive that unconditional love, acceptance, forgiveness, that's really where I think the healing occurs. And once we're healed, man, it's really easy to be grateful for things, but it's really hard to be grateful when we're carrying all this stuff. And so, you know, the part of that is really start with ourselves and then share that gift with somebody else. If y'all have a best friend, this is the kind of stuff you do every day. You know, you do it every day. You share your struggles and you receive that love and that forgiveness, and that's what heals us. Well, in the work that we do, that's generally the work that we do. You know, these kids come in and their families, and maybe we're the first people that really love them and care about them and accept them and give them hope and, you know, help them see that life really is a gift and they can make a difference. So it's really that connection that we establish that feeds that hope, feeds that gratitude, okay? So the gift of life itself is a daily invitation to hope, to love, to forgive, and to be grateful. You know, the fact that we're alive, we have an opportunity today to do all these things. And so I would encourage you to first do them with yourself so that you really can give that gift away. So I thank y'all so much for letting me join you. I know everybody's ready to go have their weekend. It's an hour ahead for y'all. So I'm going to go enjoy lunch or something else. So
thank you so much for your generosity and being with us. I know you said you had a lot of other things that you had to do, and I broke up your day by putting this right in the middle of them. So I love to tease Scott because he teases me back. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Well, I want everybody to nod, since he can't hear us clap, to nod our thanks.
Thank y'all.
Everybody stay tuned for our next Thrive Community event. I will close us with a very short quote. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you. Thank you very much for joining us. Check out our new Thrive Network, My Thrive Network page. Be sure and like us, be entered into the drawing for those books. If you have any questions about Thrive, feel free to reach out as well. We're always here to be of service, because that's why we were started in the beginning. Happy weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for graciously joining us. We really appreciate your time.